Hi everyone, Chris Stanton here from the law firm of Klemp and Stanton in Mendota Heights, Minnesota. This is my fourth educational video for your enjoyment, so hopefully you'll learn something today. What we're going to discuss is what to do when a family member passes away. Many of the things that I'm going to talk about are common sense, but are often overlooked during this painful and traumatic time. Now, the first thing that you need to understand is nothing needs to be done right away with the estate. Oftentimes, I'll have a friend or a relative of the deceased person call me the day that their loved one had died, wondering, well, what am I supposed to do legally? Well, the answer is nothing needs to be done right away. Take care of the personal affairs, including funeral and burial, and then contact me in a couple of weeks, and then we'll get into what needs to be done. After the personal matters have been dealt with, you'll need to begin taking care of some busy work and legal matters that come with a family member's passing. Today we'll be discussing mostly busy work, and we'll leave the legal matters for a different time. Busy work involves mostly calls or visits to different governmental offices and or organizations associated with your loved one. Now, there are 17 tasks that are going to need to be taken care of. There's probably more, but here's 17 that you're going to want to take into account when handling your loved one's affairs. The first thing you need to do is order duplicate death certificates. You may need 15 to 20 of them, depending upon the circumstances, to complete the upcoming tasks. Your funeral director usually gives you a hand with this, or you can order them from the Office of Vital Records at the Minnesota Department of Health. In Minnesota, each certified copy will cost $13. You may ask why so many certificates. Well, the main reason is because all of the financial institutions, government agencies, creditors, unions, membership groups, or other organizations won't talk to you about your loved one's financial affairs, let alone take any action until you produce one. So you'll need many death certificates before you start contacting banks, investment companies, and other firms. So number one, order quite a few death certificates. 2, notify local Social Security office of the passing. Typically, the funeral director will notify Social Security of your loved one's death. If not, you can call 1-800-772-1213 or contact the local office. If your loved one was receiving benefits at the time of death, it's important to stop additional payments from Social Security because overpayments will require a complicated repayment. Even a payment received for a month of the death may need to be returned. If the deceased has a surviving spouse or dependents, ask about the eligibility for increased personal benefits and about a one-time payment of $255 to the survivor. Number 3, you're going to want to consider whether your loved one was in the military or other government agency. If the deceased was formerly in the military, you should consider contacting the Veterans Administration and Defense Finance and Accounting Service for benefits or burial. If your loved one was a federal civil service employee, contact the Office of Personnel Management for benefits. And finally, if the deceased was not a U.S. citizen, then you need to contact U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service. Should be on your list of things to do. So 1, contact Veterans Administration. 2, Defense Finance and Accounting Service. 3, Office of Personnel Management or the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service. Number 4, you want to handle Medicare. If your loved one received Medicare, Social Security will inform the program of the death. If the deceased had been enrolled in Medicare prescription drug coverage, Part D, Medicare Advantage plan, or had a Medigap policy, contact these plans at the phone numbers provided on each plan membership card to cancel the insurance. Okay? So that's the 4 things so far. 5, want to check into employment benefits. Okay? If the deceased was working, contact the employer's Human Resources Director for information about pension plans, credit unions, and union death benefits. If the deceased was not working at the time, check anyway with the former employer to see if there are any benefits to be had. Sometimes you'll find surprise benefits. You will need a death certificate for each claim. Some of the typical employer benefits include health spending accounts, life insurance, pensions, 401ks, cash balance plans, profit sharing or bonus plans. Or your loved one might have had some paid time off that hasn't been recouped yet. Number 6, we want to notify health insurance company or employer about the death. So notify the health insurance company or the deceased employer and the coverage for the deceased, but be sure coverage for any dependents continues if needed. Now, here's one thing to keep in mind. If one partner in a marriage dies and he or she provided insurance for the family through an employer with 20 employees, living dependents who were on the insured's policy may qualify for what is called COBRA coverage. COBRA coverage gives the dependents the right to continue group health benefits provided by the group health plan for a limited time after the loved one passed away. The typical employer will notify the insurance plan's administrator within 30 days after the employee's death. Then the surviving partner will receive a notice from COBRA of the eligibility and the rates by mail. The surviving partner will have 60 days then to decide whether he or she wants to continue insurance coverage through COBRA, and 45 days after electing coverage to pay the initial premium. COBRA will help the surviving partner retain insurance company for 36 months after the death of the loved one. After that, though, the surviving partner will need to obtain another health insurance policy through an employer or purchase an individual plan. All right? Very important these days with the cost of health care to make sure you keep your insurance. Number 7, you want to notify life insurance companies about the death. Okay? So if your loved one had life insurance, appropriate claim forms will need to be filed. The beneficiary will probably want to get the claim process started sooner than later. You'll want to find out answers, though, before you get started, to the following questions. What type of insurance policy is it? Is there a term policy, a whole life, or a variable life? Second, was there any credit insurance? In other words, to pay off credit card balances, or sometimes amounts owing on major purchases such as furniture or mortgage insurance to pay the mortgage. So you need to find out what kind of policy is and what the special benefits are on it. Were the policies still in force at the time of death? Obviously very important. Who are the beneficiaries? And then how much will the company pay as a result of your loved one's passing? To claim life insurance benefits, the beneficiary should contact the insurance company's local agent or check the company's website. Some companies ask beneficiaries to start by sending in a form that merely reports the death, and then they send the beneficiary a packet of forms instructing them how to proceed. Generally, a beneficiary can apply for proceeds simply by filling out an insurance company's claim form and submitting it to the company along with the certified copy of a death certificate. If more than one adult beneficiary is named, each should submit a claim form. If the primary beneficiary died before the policy holder did, then the alternate, or what is called contingent beneficiary, can claim the proceeds. An alternate will need to submit the death certificate of the primary beneficiary in addition to the death certificate of the policy holder. All right? So life insurance needs to be dealt with. The 8th thing, contact insurance companies to consider adjusting or terminating other insurance policies. Okay? That includes, amongst others, homeowners, automobile, long-term care, and so forth. Call or write your insurance agent or provider and let him or her know that you want to end the coverage and when you want to do that. Don't just let the policy end without notifying the insurance company. Otherwise, the carrier will continue to send bills and likely follow those up with phone calls or letters. That will eventually stop, but the insurer could mark the account for non-payment and report this to the credit agencies. So you need to be in contact with these folks. And if your loved one was driving, well, obviously you'd end the auto insurance for your loved one. But on the other hand, if you're still living in the house, you need to adjust it for the homeowner. So take a look at the different kinds of policies and figure out the best way to handle those. Number 9, you're going to want to make a list of outstanding debts and bills. There's a lot of different things that could fall in this category: mortgage, electrical, automobile, cable, credit card, water bill, health club bill, insurance, cell phones, other loans. You need to make a list of this and pass this along to the administrator, whether it be an executor of a will or if there was a trust in place, you'd want to get this information to the trustee. So make a list of the outstanding debts and bills of the loved one. Number 10, you're going to want to inventory the estate of the deceased to determine what assets were owned at the time of the death. So typically you would contact the bank and the financial advisor and the stockbroker, as well as the CPA and other professional advisors of the deceased, to determine what there is in the way of assets. There's a number of reasons to do that. You're going to want to do it for purposes of getting step-up in basis or getting the tax returns done and that sort of thing. So all of the professional people that your loved one was working with, you're going to want to contact them so that you can get an idea as to what we're talking about in the way of assets. Number 11, you want to close credit card accounts of the deceased. For each account, call the customer service phone number on the credit card, monthly statement, or the issuer's website. Let the agent know that you would like to close the account of the deceased relative. Upon request, submit a copy of the death certificate by fax or email. If that's not possible, send the document by registered mail with return receipt requested. Once the company receives the certificate, it will close the account at the date of death. If an agent doesn't offer to waive interest or fees after that date, be sure to ask. Keep records of all the accounts you close and notify the executor of the estate about outstanding debts. Okay? So that goes without saying. You need to contact the credit card companies and close certain accounts. Number 12, contact credit reporting agencies. You're going to want to provide death certificates to 3 major firms: Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. To minimize the chance of identity theft, provide copies of the death certificates to these 3 major firms as soon as possible so the account is flagged. 4 to 6 weeks later, check the deceased credit history to ensure no fraudulent accounts have been opened. This happens quite often, so you need to make sure that you follow through with number 12 here. These days, an open, unchecked credit file can be an invitation for identity theft. Protect the loved one's identity by alerting these companies of the spouse's death. It's best to put this request in writing. Your letter should include your name, address, phone number, and email address, plus the full name, social security number, and most recent address of your spouse. Your letter should also include the birth date, the date of death. Be sure to identify yourself as the surviving spouse if you are the surviving spouse, and include a copy of the deceased death certificate. In your letter, you're going to want to request that the deceased notice and statement "do not issue credit" be added to your spouse's credit report. To further safeguard your loved one's credit file, request to be notified immediately of any new credit applications have been made in your spouse's name. That way you'll be alerted if a thief tries to open a credit account using your spouse's name. It's also a good idea to request that a copy of your spouse's credit report be sent to you so you'll have a record of all your spouse's open credit card accounts. Send the letter by certified mail and keep a copy for your records. The next step is contacting your spouse's creditors and alerting them of his or her death. Okay? So you need to contact these folks. Identity theft is running rampant these days, and you need to make sure you follow through with that. Next, we want to cancel your loved one's driver's license. The phone number in the state of Minnesota is 651-215-1328. Clearing the driver's license record will remove the deceased name's record from the Department of Motor Vehicles and once again prevent identity theft. Contact the State Department of Motor Vehicle for exact instructions. You may have to visit a customer service center or do it by mail. Either way, you'll need a copy of the death certificate. Number 14. We want to close email and website accounts. For some of the older generation that might be listening to this, you may not know what a lot of these are, but for those of you that are familiar and do work with this, you need to cancel the email and website accounts. It's a good idea to close social media and other online accounts to, once again, avoid fraud or identity theft. The procedures for each website will vary. For instance, Google Mail will ask you to provide a death certificate, a photocopy of your driver's license, and other detailed information. From email to shopping to entertainment to social media, there's a multitude of online accounts that you may want to shut down, so you got to figure out whose those are. Any account that has the deceased credit card information should be closed immediately to prevent identity theft or fraud. Common accounts to close include some online businesses like Amazon, PayPal, or eBay. When it comes to email, there may be what's called Gmail or Hotmail, Yahoo Mail, or AOL email. And then there's social media, which include Facebook or Twitter or a thing called LinkedIn. There's also Flickr, Picasa, and there's dating sites. When it comes to entertainment, you might belong to Netflix or Hulu. Might be PlayStation, Xbox, or other gaming accounts. To find other websites that may have had the deceased credit card information, check recent credit card statements. That'll direct you or put you in the right direction to close out these accounts, because you'll see them on the credit card. All right, now we're up to number 15. Cancel memberships in clubs and organizations. Reach out to sororities, fraternities, professional organizations the deceased belonged to, and find out how to handle his or her membership status. It's important to do that to cancel the account, so you need to contact these folks so that they can be taken off the list. Number 16, I should say. Contact a CPA, accountant, to prepare individual and estate tax returns. A return will need to be filed for the individual as well as for an estate tax return, depending upon the size of your estate. Keep monthly bank statements on all individual and joint accounts that show the account balance as of the date of death. CPAs will always want date of death values. As one CPA puts it that I work with, he wants a picture of the day that your loved one passed away. So what was the account value on the date of death of the bank? What was it in the mutual fund? Roughly, what's the value of the house on the date of death, and so on. They will need all of this information in order to prepare final income tax returns and or estate tax returns. All right, next in line, number 17. You're going to want to contact an estate attorney to handle the legal issues relating to the death of the family member. I certainly can help you out with that. I've been in practice for 24 years now. All the work I do is related to wills and trusts. I work primarily with financial advisors and their clients, but certainly you don't have to be affiliated with any particular financial advisor. I'd be happy to help you out and or direct you to a competent one if you need one. Certainly call me with questions. If you just want to bounce something off me, or you need some sort of direction, don't hesitate to call me. I'm not going to nickel and dime you. I'll guide you through the process and get you going in the right direction. But a bunch of the things that I just listed here is common sense things, but you need to get going on that when you feel up to it. But again, always go by the first rule that I said. Nothing needs to be done right away. Take care of your personal matters, and then you're ready. Seek help. Again, my number is 651-310-1400, and my name's Chris Stanton, and we'll see you next time.